For 18 years, she hid her seal tattoos beneath cardigans and long sleeves, as if burying the truth could erase it. To her neighbors, she was the quiet librarian who shelved books with precision, smiled at children, and swam every morning before dawn. No one ever asked why her eyes always searched for exits in every room, or why she never once let her guard down. Then one summer afternoon they came for her, not to expose her secret but because the world needed it. And in that moment, the past she thought she had outrun came crashing back. Because some ghosts never stay buried. And hers had been waiting for 18 long years. The library smelled of dust and sun-warmed paper as Adrienne Frost moved through the aisles, her fingers grazing the spines like she was touching memories. The townspeople saw only grace in her movements, but every step, every turn of her wrist, carried the precision of training designed for war. When little Elijah Patterson tugged on her sleeve asking about dinosaurs, she softened, her mask slipping just enough for kindness to show. But even as she knelt to help him, her sleeve tugged higher and she pulled it down quickly, hiding the ink beneath her skin. She had learned to live unseen. But fate was already circling her quiet life, waiting to strike. That night, the news flickered across her small cottage. Hostages in Kyrgyzstan. Children. The camera caught the face of one captor for only a second, but it was enough. A tattoo she knew too well, geometric lines wrapped around a dagger, an emblem of the man who had once left her for dead. Her breath caught, the old scars burning under her skin. She pried up the floorboard, revealing the burner phone she hadn't touched in years. 3 words left her lips, "It's Thornfield." Then silence. But she knew the call would bring them. Because the past had always been listening. At dawn, she slipped into the freezing surf, cutting through the waves like a blade. The water was punishment and comfort, washing over the years she'd spent pretending. With every stroke she remembered the weight of her comrades' bodies, the sound of gunfire, the mission that had stolen everything from her but her life. By the time she reached shore, her decision was already made, even if she hadn't admitted it to herself. And decisions, once made in her world, could never be undone. The next day the dark SUV arrived. Inside the library's hush, 2 strangers approached. One grizzled man with storm-gray eyes and a younger woman, sharp and skeptical. But Adrienne knew them before they spoke. She led them into the stacks where no one would overhear. "Commander Frost," the man said softly, and in that instant, the name she had buried for nearly 2 decades rose back to life. He told her the truth she already knew. Thornfield was active again. The children had 72 hours. And she was the only one who could stop him. She wanted to refuse. She wanted to cling to the quiet. But the ghosts of 3 small faces in an embassy basement would never let her. That night she opened the hidden metal box beneath her floorboards. A compass, scarred and strange, not for direction but for recognition. A photograph of 6 soldiers, their faces lost in shadows except hers. She touched the edges, whispering names that no one else remembered. They had died because of Thornfield. And now, children's lives were balanced on the edge of the same knife. She closed the box, her decision complete. She had never really been free. She had only been waiting. The transport plane roared through the clouds, carrying her back into a world she swore she'd left behind. She sat alone, her librarian's cardigan traded for tactical black. Across from her, operators studied her like an artifact, doubt flickering in their eyes. They saw a woman past her prime, a ghost of glory. But ghosts know how to haunt. And Adrienne Frost had been haunting her own life for 18 years. When they landed, she faced Admiral Vega, a man who sneered at the sight of her. A librarian, he called her. A civilian. Until Captain Thorne laid the file on the table. Operation Thornfield. Classified. Forgotten. Erased from history. And then, without a word, she peeled off her sleeve. The room fell silent. The tattoos swirled across her scarred skin, ink laced with the stories of battles she had survived when no one believed she existed. The scars told the truth no file could. Even the Admiral rose from his chair, respect cracking through his skepticism. Because the living proof of impossible survival stood before him. She trained again and the rust fell away. At the range, by the 3rd magazine, her bullets grouped tighter than the best of them. In the simulator, her mind raced ahead of the computer, seeing threats before they appeared. The young lieutenant who had doubted her finally asked the question that had been eating at her. "How did you keep all this hidden while shelving books?" Adrienne only shrugged, reassembling her weapon with steady hands. Discipline doesn't need an audience. Every room can be a training ground if you decide it is. The lieutenant said nothing more, but her eyes had changed. Doubt was gone. 2 nights later, she sat in the briefing room, the mission details lit across the screens. 3 children. A compound crawling with men she had once hunted. And Thornfield, alive, cruel, unfinished. As the others spoke tactics, Adrienne stared at the grainy image of his face, older now but no less monstrous. She touched the scar at her collarbone where his bullet had nearly ended her. "He left me for dead once," she said quietly. "This time I'll finish it." And in that vow, every ghost she carried stirred. The mission clock was ticking, and the woman Harborview had known as a quiet librarian was gone. In her place stood Commander Frost, the first and forgotten SEAL, a ghost returned to the fight. Somewhere on the other side of the world, children were waiting for rescue, and a monster was waiting for her. And this time the past had no place to hide. Because some secrets aren't meant to stay buried. And some warriors aren't meant to stay retired.